Alright guys, I have a very important update about the Military Armament Corporation MAC-5. This is one of the Turkish MP5 clones and it comes in right at $1,000. I added the fold-in brace on it, that does not come with it. So I already did a video of my first impressions, putting about 500 or so rounds through it and how I thought it went. So if you want to check that out, go for it. But the reason I'm making this video is because if it wasn't for the kind people in the comments that introduced me to the concept of bolt gap on roller delayed weapons, I wouldn't have known this. So I'm assuming there's other people out there like me who are unfamiliar with H&K weapons, MP5s, roller delayed weapons. It's a whole new world to me, very ignorant towards it. So bolt gap, didn't know what the hell it was. People were telling me that check your bolt gap. There's a few of these went out the first run with the bolt gap out of spec. So I had to do research on what that was and what that meant. I'm going to keep this video very simple. If you want a more in-depth view on roller delayed weapons and bolt gap and how all that works and what it all means, you're going to have to find that somewhere else. I'm just keeping this insanely simple. So I checked the bolt gap and it was out of spec. So what does that mean? On your bolt, you can see it's kind of split into two pieces, and you can kind of see that line going up and down right there. There has to be a small gap in that little section right there, and it has to be within spec. Or HK has a spec that they recommend, a ideal and a maximum. Mine was out of spec by a lot. I had no bolt gap whatsoever. And the concerning part was that I wouldn't have known because it still functioned fine. Out of 500 rounds, I had one round that the bolt didn't close all the way, so it was just open a tiny bit. I chalked that up to just break it in the rifle or break it in the pistol, and no big deal. Let's see if it does anything else. But over time, it could have damaged the internals and the rails that the rollers are on and all that good stuff. So, how do you check your bolt gap? You need a pair of feeler gauges, which is a bunch of little thin pieces of metal that have measurements on them, and they slowly increase in size. I'm talking insanely small increments. So H&K, their specs for bolt gap is 0.010 inches to 0.018 inches is ideal. Their maximum is 0.010 inches to 0.020 inches. So we're talking very small numbers here. The way that you're going to want to check it is we're going to start off at 0.010. So we're going to find the little piece of metal that says 0.010 on it. So I've got my 0.010. I'm going to just put it right inside the mag well, and it should fit into that little slot in that little gap in the bolt. And that fits in there just fine. It shouldn't be too tight or anything like that. We're going to go right up to our maximum, which is 0.020 inches. So I'm going to find the feeler gauge that is at 0.020. So this should slide into that gap, and it should be a pretty tight fit. I shouldn't have to force it in, but it shouldn't just slip in and out. Perfect. So there was resistance. It went in, and it doesn't just come right out, and that's our maximum. So just for due diligence, let's see if 0.021 will fit in there. It shouldn't, because our maximum should be 0.020. So I'm just going to check that 0.021, and that does not fit in. It stops, and it won't go into that bolt gap. Perfect. This new bolt is within spec. So like I said, and you want to check it with your bolt forward and your trigger not engaged. So that's how you want to check the bolt gap. I contacted SDS Imports, which is the distributor for MAC. Luckily, they're local right in my same city. So I contacted them. I told them that I had no bolt gap whatsoever. So they sent me an RMA, and I sent it to them, and they put a new bolt in it, and then they sent it back. So good and bad, right? Bad that this happened. I understand it's the first run, so that's why I'm not being too hard on them, and I understand what the gun is. So, moving forward, let's see if they fix the problem permanently, and if any more coming out to the gun stores now because they sold out pretty much everywhere for a little while. Let's see if the newer ones coming out now have the same issues. Hopefully they don't. I am glad that they took care of it with no questions. I've heard of other companies having kind of to jump through hoops and not doing what they should. So I am glad that they took care of it. 0 questions, 0 money. They just fixed it like they should have and sent it back. So all that to say, if you buy one of the MAC-5s, check your bolt gap. If it's out of spec, contact SDS Imports in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm still going to give it its chance, all right? So we got the new bolt in it. I'm still going to give it its chance. I am going to do a 1,000-round update video probably after the first of the year at some point. That's all I got for you guys. So thank you for joining, and until next time, be good.